Hello everyone, I hope that you are doing well. So without wasting any time, let's move to the newspaper. First we will identify the important news and then we'll move on to the analysis section. So this is Wednesday, April 2022, The Hindu Daily Edition. As usual, we'll be first identifying the most important news and then it will be followed by a detailed discussion for the same. So let's move ahead. So difficult to work with Telangana, CM says Governor Tamil Sai not okay. This is a news that we must know that yes, this thing is happening, but per se examination we don't have time to actually write these things in examination, right? So just keep a watch over this thing because it is governor versus CM issue. Okay, means it is an elected representative and this is a selected representative. So this is the difference between selected and elected representative, right? And two projections were not required, not required, not required. These 4 years are not required. Now the condition in Sri Lanka is deteriorating day by day. Keep a watch over it. Let's see how it unfolds. No religious procession without knots. Seek peace declaration from organizers. UP Chief Minister instruct officers. Okay, fine, not needed. Any relief to Rajona Congress party? Okay, not needed. Delhi municipal bill gets president not. Just know this thing. Bill passing. Okay. In UT, it is a bit different from that of state. Okay, just have a look over it. So no important news on first page. Let's see on second page. Nothing on second page. On third page as well. Okay, nothing on third page as well. Fourth page, nothing. Okay, fifth page is entirely this thing only. Sixth page, let's see, revisiting India federal ethos not required because it is related to Tamil Nadu CM MK Stalin, who could spark a broad-based challenge to BJP centralizing move. So it is how this person Stalin can go on to become a real challenge for the BJP centralizing move, right? Not needed. Against offenders. Okay, we'll give it a very small read. I don't think it is important, but still we have to see. Okay, it is for Lakhimpur Keri case. Not important. We won't be going into it. Lessons from a letter. Otto Braun's letter to ACN Nambiar seems relevant still to know Europe's dilemma of choosing US over Russia. Okay, we'll give it a read. Fine. This will help us in what? Balancing geopolitics with USA, Russia and Europe, all three taken together. An honest reckoning, India must get expert to independently investigate deaths. Okay, not needed. Demolition drive violate international law. The bulldozing of houses in MP was to impose collective punishment on alleged rioters. Time to set up price distortion, right? This is important because it is related to WPI crossing or breaching 14%. Okay, yesterday it was there, so this is important to understand why it is time to set the price distortion right now. This, if you are interested, give it a read. I don't think it is very important with respect to law. It not only violates international law but also national law. Okay, the government becomes judge, jury and executioner itself. Okay, this is not required, but still we have to also see the government stance. We have to see the stance of the law, and at last the law will only prevail. It is not the government stance or not the stance of the rioters, the alleged rioters or anyone. It is a law that always prevails. It is a constitution that is above everything, right? So, and it is talking about collective punishment and all those things. So you may have your views, that's perfectly fine. You cannot be a person without any view on matter of such national importance, that's perfectly fine, right? But as far as the exam is concerned, you have to take a balanced view. Okay, so understand this, there is nothing about constitution, there is nothing about law. Okay, you may feel at your heart that yes, the government has done right or the government has done wrong, that is your feelings, but feelings and logic do not help in courts and examination. Okay, fine, then let's move forward to see anything else. Text and context with the various corporate defense mechanism against hostile takeover not required. I think it is related to that Elon Musk trying to take over this one, Twitter, right? Okay, know this thing, who are the member of collegium, that's only, nothing more is needed, right? Text and context, what is this keyword? Panoptictonism. Okay, we'll see what it is, just the keyword, nothing more than that, nothing less than that, because it may be relevant for some of the optional but not for GS. This is important. Tie-up between India foreign varsity is simplified. West Dairy Complex in Gujarat. Okay, Indian leader in traditional medicine. Says WHO's chief. Okay. No, nothing here. Okay, nothing here. Packed food unlikely to help, say expert. Shravan to visit India. Okay, she replaces. Chief of panel for Delhi, they are not required. Electoral SOPs flagged. No. Envoy 6 help and weapon. No. 2 cattle smuggled. No. India stand on COVID death count. Method inaccurate. Okay, we have to read this because yesterday or day before yesterday, I think India has asked the method of how has questioned the method of how WHO is counting the death, how interpolation and extrapolation can be done for the data of developed world in developing world, right? So this is thing. Okay, there is nothing here. Okay, nothing here. Nothing here. Okay, nothing here. Nothing here. I've got India forecast to 8.2% on war. Yes, this was expected. War to test the resilience of global financial system. Okay, OPEC share of oil import steady after 6 years slump. Okay. So I don't think anything important here. Lack of coal at plant signal looming crisis. Fine. Okay, there is nothing here as well. So we don't have a news. Okay, so with this we come to end of identification of today's important news. Now let's directly go and analyze the same. Okay, so as usual we'll be doing the editorial and text and context page at last, right? So let us directly move to the next news. Tie-up between foreign varsities and Indian universities simplified. Let's see. The new UGC regulation to allow students to get dual degree from institution of the country and those abroad. Okay, so we know that recently UGC has passed that Indian students can get a dual degree. Okay, and that giving the dual degree or such program will be the discretion of the institution. Okay, so on that line only it is saying that Indian and foreign universities tie-up has been simplified by the UGC. Okay, the University Grant Commission has simplified the procedure for Indian higher education institution to offer program in collaboration with foreign universities by entering into MOU with each other directly if they meet certain eligible criteria. So there can be a direct MOU if they meet certain eligibility criteria. Okay, UGC decided that Indian higher education institute has a national NAAC grading of 3.01 or above, or it is among top 1000 QS World University or Times Higher Education ranking, or is the top 100 university under national NIRF. Okay, will be able to tie up with foreign education institution which two features among top 1000 QS or Times High Education. Means, look, two things you can understand. Important goals for education, for higher education institutions are QS ranking and Times ranking. Okay, Times Higher Education ranking. So whenever you write out this higher education, you make a note of these rankings or take how these rankings have changed, so that you can discuss the relevant changes, good or bad, in the higher education, right? And the second thing is, for national level it is NIRF. Okay, one thing is that, and other thing is NAAC. So you understand now what we have to write in examination. Previous regulation known as University Grant Commission Regulation 2016, which now stands repealed, required two institutions to tie up with each other after obtaining UGC approval. Initially, UGC approval was needed, but now UGC approval is conditionally needed. That is, if the university meets certain condition, they don't need that approval. And what is that condition? Top 1000 in QS or Times, or 3.01 or above score in NAC, or it is among 100 university of NIRF. Okay. UGC chairman said that under the new regulation made public soon, university and colleges will no longer be required to seek permission to do so if they meet the ranking criteria. Too strict. The earlier regulations were too strict and there were too many bottlenecks. Our simplified regulation will increase the scale at which a student could benefit from collaboration between Indian and foreign higher education institutions. Under the 2016 regulation, a foreign and Indian college or university could partner with each other to offer only twinning and joint degree programs where Indian students receive a degree only from an Indian institute along with certificate from foreign university institute. So initially it was a joint degree program, but now what? Now it will be a dual degree program. But now they can offer a third type of program, that is dual degree program, where both institute will issue a degree. Okay, under the twinning program, a student can get up to 30% credit utilization of the course from foreign university, whereas under joint and dual degree program, he or she can get more than 30% of the total credit. Okay, these collaborations will be permitted only for conventional mode of learning and not for distance and on. Okay, so only for conventional mode and not for distance and online learning. Remember this. We have 4 core students in Indian higher education, but over a period of time this will increase to 10 crores. While we continue to build new institutions, it is also important to provide high quality education through collaboration with foreign institute. This will also enhance the employability of our students. Fine. He said the move would also help attract foreign students to India, which will lead to internationalization, which is also an important parameter for improving global rankings of higher education. Fine. So these are the things. Just remember these things and you are good to go with it. Okay. India leader in traditional medicine shares WHO's chief. PM lays foundation stone for new center. Prime Minister has laid foundation for WHO Global Center on Traditional Medicine at Jamnagar in Gujarat, in presence of Mauritius Prime Minister Parvind Kumar Jagannath and World Health Organization Director Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, the first of its kind. So where has it been installed? In Jamnagar. It will be a global outpost center for traditional medicine across the world. It was described by the center as truly global project, as 107 WHO member countries have their country specific governmental offices, which means the world will come to India for its leadership in traditional medicine. Okay. Fine. The center will focus on data innovation and all those things. Okay. Now, and rich legacy of Ayurveda. Okay, these things are there. You give it a read, it is not required. Okay, let's see if anything else is left on this page. Nothing. So we must move forward and see what is there. Fine. So nothing on this page, I suppose. Yes, nothing. And same was Indian stand on COVID death count method inaccurate. WHO has said this. Obviously it will say, let's see. WHO scientist shares detail of model adopted for estimates. Look, what is the main problem? India is saying there are 2 versions of it, 2 perspectives on it. What is India saying? India is saying that look, WHO, whatever data you have, it is for developed country and we are a developing country. So how could you simply use the data of developed country and say or an estimate about a developing country like India? Okay, this is the problem. Your data set is inaccurate, right? And what is this WHO saying? We will see what WHO has to say today. Yesterday or day before yesterday, I don't remember when, but India has put forward its grievances that WHO, this is wrong, right? So what is the main problem? Data is available for what? Developed country. Okay, countries, and extrapolation is done for using this data. It is done for developing countries. Okay, this is the problem which India is saying, that if you want to actually extrapolate, then use data of developing country. Now, why are you using data of developed country to estimate the threat in developing country? It must be understood that India concerns are valid to many extent. Although they say anything, but this is a valid concern that your data set is wrong altogether. Inaccurate is how scientists, part of World Health Organization team described India's objections to the method used. A forthcoming analysis. Okay, the Union Health Minister on Saturday, in response to the article India is stalling in WHO to on the same day NYT raised objections about the methodology used by WHO to compute excess death. So far, WHO hasn't officially released estimates for India, but NYT claims that health body having computed 15 million deaths by end of 2021, or more than twice the official total of 6 million reported by country individually. Of these, India accounts for 4 million deaths. or about 8 times the current official toll of 5.2 lakhs. The report said that citing unnamed sources. The ministry detailed statement said it was in regular touch with WHO on the issue and had shared concern with the methodology, along with China, Iran, Bangladesh, Syria, Ethiopia, Egypt, to the WHO 6 times since November 2021. Okay, so along with these countries as well, and look, all of these are either, and they are the third world country and are mostly and are developing or underdeveloped. Okay, so grouping of countries. India core concern are that these test tolls are computed using statistical model that doesn't account for size and variation in the country. The WHO methodology classifies country in tier 1 and tier 2 country and usually mortality figures from tier 1 countries and then use them in tier 2 countries. An unjustifiable approach India contains. That's what I was saying, that they have the data for developed country and they are using it for using that data for developing country. That is actually unjustifiable. Okay, covariant monthly and all those things are there. Okay, WHO Technical Advisory Group that's responsible for modeling tweeted on Monday that ministry statement on excess mortality was inaccurate and supplied a link to research paper describing the method employed. Wakefield is a professor of biostatics in Washington State University. Look where he is, Washington State University, USA. So the data that he has used is basically for USA and other geographical or economic north, right? For most of the country provided a natural all-cause mortality rate or death by cause of monthly. The author relied on data provided by Argentina, China, India and other such countries. Didn't have national all-cause mortality number, and for 2021 only data from a few months. India only had data from 17 states and all those things. Okay, just know this, not needed to read everything. Yes, but the problem is what? Data for India is missing. Okay, and they are hence they are extrapolating things, and India claims that this extrapolation is out of context and it is leading to a condition where or we say leading to a death inclusion error. Okay, fine. So this is it. So I was expecting also that WHO will never say that they are wrong. Okay, let's see if other news are left on this page. I don't see any news on this page. Nothing. On economic page there was nothing. So with this we have come to end of the news analysis, and now let's directly jump to the editorial analysis, right? So this is our editorial, lessons from a letter, right? So let's see. Otto Brown's letter to ASEAN Nambiar seems relevant still to know Europe's dilemma of choosing between US over Russia. Okay, so we'll give it a read. ASEAN Nambiar, who was the Berlin correspondent of the Hindu during 1926-34, shifted his residence to New Delhi in late October 1984. The then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi has insisted on his return from Zurich as she was worried about his health. From 1927, Jawaharlal Nehru and Indira Gandhi has treated and considered Nambiar to be a close family friend. For them, he was Nanu. Nehru had appointed him as India's ambassador to Sweden and West Germany. However, Nambiar chose to retire from diplomatic life in 1958 and resume his life as journalist from Switzerland. In 1933, Nambiar has become Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose's trusted confidant in Europe. It was in the same year that Hitler police has expelled him from Germany after arresting him on February 27 for involvement in Reichstag fire along with communists. In 1942, Bose brought Nambiar back to Berlin to join his team to carry on with his Indian independence struggle from Berlin. In 43, he designated Nambiar as a successor for European campaign, when he secretly left for the Far East to lead the Indian National Army. After the Second World War, the Allied powers imprisoned Nambiar from 1945 to 1947. Okay. This is going nowhere. Okay, let's see. He was only Indian freedom fighter to have been arrested by Hitler and Allied forces. Soon after his arrival, Nambiar met Indira Gandhi on this date and written letter from her welcoming him. However, on October 8th, the world shattered from him. He was left staring at an uncertain failure of Mrs. Gandhi's assassination. He was only angry. Okay. He has gone out to the hospital and repeatedly and passed away on Itna. Fine. A lifeline what kept him going for a year after he was received a regulatory from him. Okay. On the difficult one such friend who kept in touch with Dr. Carlo Otto Braun, a lover of India and from German and a former German diplomat. Braun described himself as a revisionist historian who, he said, was seeking the truth, reflecting traditional German dilemma of aligning too much with America despite the admiration for American leadership. Braun's letter to Nambiar dated 11 April 1985 seems relevant even now to understand European dilemma of choosing America versus or with respect to Russia at a time when common front to help Ukraine is being forced by Washington DC. One could thus appreciate the present Ukrainian criticism of traditional German foreign policy towards Russia, even by former German Chancellor Angela Merkel. Ukrainian President Zelensky has recently invited her to visit Bucha to see herself what policy of 14-year concession to Russia has led to. At the Institute for Historical Review, a controversial publication of Holocaust Denial, which organizes the Historical Revisionist Congress, has said that Dr. Brown, who passed away on August 21, 1988, was in contact with Netaji Bose while in Germany. It has mentioned Brown's note in arranging Bose's dramatic submarine voyage from Europe to Asia. However, I could find no confirmation of this in my 10 years of research to write Nambiar's biography, Stalin and the Americans. What is interesting in Brown's letter to Nambiar was detailed about his visit to Franklin D. Roosevelt Presidential Museum in Albany, New York. It is in its secret archive he found that how Roosevelt has sent his trusted emissary Harry Hopkins to Stalin on July 31st, 1941 to list out all the weapons that Stalin needed. Hopkins had said that Stalin wanted Roosevelt to know that he would welcome American troops on any part of Russian front under the complete command of American army. Stalin frankly admitted in November 1943 Tehran conference that we Soviets would have lost the war without American help. By February 1945, the relationship has sunk when Yalta conference was held. Former Newsweek editor John McCann has described this phase in his masterly work Franklin and Winston, regarding how Stalin insisted on his sphere of influence, echoing Russia's President Vladimir Putin's position on Ukraine now. Okay, this article I thought was appealing and may help me to at least write a balanced answer on balancing geopolitics between US, Europe and Russia. One thing that I got is USA has supplied weapons to Russia as well. Okay, this should be understood. Although during before the Cold War, and we know that during World War II, Russia and USA were on the same side, and after World War II, the Cold War began. So this is how things go in international relations. As I always say, there are only three things that matter: national security, national interest, and peace and harmony in the region. If these three things are established, there would be a very cordial international relation between the countries, between the blocs, between the super national bodies, and if any of these things are disturbed, the other two automatically gets disturbed, and hence the international relation deteriorates, right? So during World War II or in 1943 Tehran conference, Soviet has already admitted that yes, they would have lost if Americans have not helped. And in 45, okay, after 45, what happened? Russia wants its sphere of influence, okay, in Europe, and as usual USA will try to curb this sphere of influence. Okay, fine. So this is how it goes. Just understand that this sphere of influence is what is reigning the mind of the President Vladimir Putin. Okay, and he has also said that early in last decade that yes, the fall of USSR was a geopolitical blunder and it should be corrected, right? So these things have made up this Ukraine-Russia crisis. One is the response of one is the response of Russia, and other is the provocation by US via NATO expansion, and it has actually led to unfolding of such a critical war in a place which has got nothing to do with both the superpowers, that is Ukraine, right? So now let's see. Okay, that is not required. Time to set price distortions, right? India should focus on reducing cost of doing business. One of the key objectives of reform has been to reduce distortion generated by earlier excessive micromanagement of the economy. With internal economic liberalization, openness to international trade and investment, and open free market economy has emerged. Improving the ease of doing business continues to be a major priority. Even more important is cost of doing business. For this, action is needed to reduce government policy induced pricing disorders and distortions which add to the cost of doing business. In our economy, these pricing distortions have become source of competitive disadvantage to domestic value addition and job creation. Okay, so what in respect to our economy, what is the thing? These pricing distortions have become a source of competitive disadvantage. Okay, what it is creating, this pricing distortion is creating competitive disadvantage to domestic value addition and job creation. India's relative lack of success in manufacturing and employment generation is the outcome. So what is the outcome of this distortion? Our stagnant manufacturing and decreasing employment in India. Okay, as with all the reforms, It would need leadership and investment of political capital in generating consensus and steering change. Reformers who advocate that a crisis is the best time for difficult reform takes an irresponsible, undemocratic view and serve the political leadership poorly, as nation has discovered with the 3 farm law which came through ordinances. The origin of government policy induced pricing distortions lie in the political need to find a way out for a cash-strapped government to raise resources or to provide affordable goods and services to those in needs to cross subsidiary within the sector without having to find money for direct subsidy payment. It is a time for informed discussions on these distortions. Right? So why is government doing this? Because first, government is always short on cash, and second, there is employment challenges, and third, a lot of subsidies are given. So by implementing such schemes like farmer laws, what would have happened? It would have led to finally a reduction in these challenges of government. Okay, so it was based on these premises. Pricing distortion in petrol and diesel. Energy is the basic requirement of modern industrial economy and key to competitiveness. Okay, energy is the key to competitiveness. Its pricing distortions are onerous. In these days, in early days, cars were considered luxury good and high excise duty was levied on petrol, but it was lower on diesel to make it cheaper for essential needs of transport. The price difference between petrol and diesel led to a surge in supply and use of diesel cars and SUVs. The distortion led the government to increase the price of diesel gradually. The price difference has been marginal, but exceptionally large revenues that come to government from the high taxes on petrol and diesel create such a dependency that these has been kept out of GST. More recently, the central government has been raising taxes on these to raise additional revenue to moderate fiscal impact from COVID. This has given an inflationary impetus. Okay, so what he has to say now, let's see. It is saying that pricing distortion in petrol and diesel. Yes, initially since cars were considered luxury good and so was the fuel, that is petrol. So what was done? There was very high excise duty on these things. But in comparison to petrol, diesel was made cheaper. Okay, but as the time passed by and car become from luxury to day-to-day utility, what had happened? The use of diesel vehicles and diesel equipments also increased. So this led to finally what? This led to finally increasing diesel price and marginalization of the cost difference between petrol and diesel price. Right? So this led to what? This led to this marginalization. Okay, but even though there is marginal difference between petrol and diesel, the high excise duty that they earn on petrol and diesel has forced the government to keep these fuels out of the GST because they will have to otherwise share it with the state government, right? So they have kept it for themselves. And more recently, the central government has been raising taxes on these to raise additional revenue. Okay, and what has happened more recently? Central government has increased tax on these again, and this will lead to what? Why they have done so? So that additional revenue can be raised. Okay, and moderate fiscal, and there could be a revenues to moderate the fiscal impacts of COVID. Look, the pandemic has created a lot of fiscal impacts on the country, and by raising the revenue of the taxation revenue from petrol and diesel, these energy fuels, what will happen? The extra money that is earned, the revenue that is gained, can be used to provide fiscal impetus to the economy. Okay, it will lead to what? It will lead to moderating of COVID pandemic impacts. Fine. This has given an inflationary impetus. Why? Because goods have remained same and the money available has increased. Okay, so this has led to what? Increase in inflation. Fine. But real adverse impact is on cost of road transport of goods, which make the cost of logistics about twice that of competitors. Okay, look, in India what happens? Roads have a very high share of freight carriage. Okay, more than railway, more than waterway, and roads are one of the most expensive ways of carrying freight. And in India, what is there? It is very high as well. So the overall cost incurred on freight transport via road is very high, and it is the cost of now look, if something is transported, it would require trucks and anything like that, and it runs on energy fuels like petrol, like diesel mostly. So what will happen? Due to increase in diesel price, the cost of logistics increased, and due to increase in cost of logistics, what happened? We are at less competition. We are providing less competition to our competitors. Petrol and diesel therefore need to come under GST. Even at the highest rate of 25%, the price of petrol will be around 60 per liter. The discussion needs to be on how to manage the government finances thereafter. Okay, so what the article says, that even if the petrol is taxed at 28% flat rate of GST, then also it would be around 60-61 rupees, right? And so what will be the problem then? Now look, this 40 rupees per liter gap, about 100, 101, 102 rupees is the petrol as on day, right? So this 40-45 rupees gap will lead to what? Huge revenue fall for the government, right? So how to manage that revenue fall, how to manage the government finances thereafter? Electricity pricing is also highly distorted, right? A cess of 400 per ton of coal was levied to generate resources for promotion of renewable energy and decarbonization of the economy. When the GST was introduced, the receipts from this set was suddenly diverted for making good the shortfall in tax receipts of the state. Okay, the present consumption of about 1 billion ton of coal generates revenue of around 40,000 crore. About 2/3 of this additional cost is borne by the electricity sector. As the railway has been unable to raise passenger fare to cover their cost, they need to cross the subsidies passenger traffic from good freight. Okay, so what happens? About 40,000 crores, okay, is generated from this coal tax. Okay, and the other thing is that look, railway cannot increase the passenger fare. So what it does, it increases the freight fare. Okay, so with this what happens, they therefore charge about twice the actual cost of carrying coal to thermal power plant. Okay, so increase is 100%, the charge is 100%, that is total of twice is to be given twice. If say it is 10 rupees per kilometer, so after adding this subsidy, after subtracting this subsidy from the passenger and transferring it to the freight section, makes it about 20 rupees per say per ton or per kilometer, whatever be the unit, right? So actual carrying to the power plants will require what? It gets twice, the party has to pay twice the actual cost of carrying coal to that. The distortion adds to the cost of coal for thermal power plant and further increases the prices of electricity for discoms, right? So what happens now, since the coal is coal due to transportation becomes dear, it also increases the price for overall electricity produced, right? And that too, and that is again increased by the discoms. So overall cost of per unit electricity increases. They in turn cross subsidy most domestic household consumption by having higher traffic for industrial user. Now what happened? The domestic consumers will be given some subsidy like 100 or 200 units in Delhi, 300 units free in Punjab, and all those things. So from where does that loss of revenue is obtained? Okay, it is obtained from nowhere, but the industries are charged higher. This leads to what? Low profitability of industries. Okay, this increases the cost of industrial production. The consequential loss of competitiveness results in lower manufacturing growth and creation of fewer jobs. So two things it has talked about. One is the energy sector distortions, and another is the distortions of the energy fuels. Fine. User friendly processes. Not only it is difficult to get land for business enterprises, but prices are also higher than they need to be. India has a real estate asset price bubble, which returns on land assets of rent or rent on farming business is around 2%, far lower than cost of capital. Use of land use conversion and redevelopment process need to be made user friendly, combined with public provision and upgradation of quality infrastructure. This would reduce the supply side constraint and lower price in real terms. Okay, so these are what? Petrol, diesel price hike, or the price hike of per unit electricity produced due to increased price of coal, due to increased price of transportation. What are these? These are supply side bottlenecks, right? Supply side constraint, and this can be taken care of by developing and building proper infrastructures in place. Okay, unless this happens, India would continue to generate far fewer jobs than it can. Only private investment can create jobs for young generation. Government jobs are a mirage. The sooner we realize this and start grappling with feasible pathway for reducing the cost of doing business and getting a surge in private investment which creates job, or the better. Our demographic dividend is fast becoming a nightmare. Yes, it is true. The 15-20 year period that people have for demographic dividend is passing by like sand from the fist, and in some time it will become a nightmare. Okay, a very good article. You can make some of the notes from it, not that everything is important, but yes, this is a good thing to note down, that if it is placed in GST range, it would be about 60 per liter, right? And all those things, how discoms are affected due to high freight charges, right? Now let's see the next news. Text and context, this is irrelevant. This is, yes, panopticonism. Let's read the gist first. Panopticonism, your panopticon, is a circular building with cell built into its wall with an observational tower at the center. A guard could observe all prisoners from observational tower, but prisoners, while they could see the tower, could not see anything inside it. This ambiguity about whether or not they were being observed forces the prisoner to conduct themselves all the time. Okay. Is there any picture of it or what? Okay, I understand now. Michael Foucault take this architectural structure and transform it into a philosophical theory that helps us to understand how surveillance has changed the power relationship between individuals and system of social control. The present day CCTV camera is a candid example of how the theory works, with people being cautious about how they behave irrespective of whether the camera is functional or not. Fine. So you understand what is panopticonism? Panopticonism, right? It means behaving not, it means, yes, take it, behaving properly as if one is being watched / surveillanced. Okay, a good keyword, but again it is the thing that whether the question comes on this or not. If the question directly does not come on this, you won't be writing this, you won't remember even this, and if you remember this somehow, then you can get about 0.25 marks. That's it. Okay, so yes, with this we complete today's editorial analysis as well. Nothing much was there, it was a small read today, right? So I'm ending it for the day. Okay, so friends, I really hope that you like this video. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe our channel and share this video with your friend. Follow us on Telegram as well. Also, keep studying hard, keep following your dreams, and keep tuned to our channel. Comment below for any suggestion. Till then, goodbye, good luck, keep studying hard.